You're listening to the Real Estate Radio Hour, the show that brings you unfiltered stories and insight from the Twin Cities real estate world with your hosts, Chris Rooney, broker at RE/MAX Preferred, and Andy Presky, leader of the Preferred Home Team at RE/MAX Advantage Plus.
Hey.
Hey. Looks like the star of the show is here on time.
Yeah.
Just saying. Hopefully Andy doesn't rewatch these when he's not here on time.
Yeah, you like to rip him before he comes.
No, I just it's true, I do. I just remember on the radio, I'd protect him for so long from being late, and then finally I just said no. And then he came in, and he always ran into the studio, and he was there, and then he'd be like breathing hard, so I'd have to keep talking. We'd come up with stuff, and then finally I'd say, "Hey Andy, what's going on in the market today?" You know, and he could barely talk, so I had to do it. Anyways, so
hey, have you seen the movie War Dogs?
No.
Okay, well, it just I think it came on Netflix recently. I saw it, I think in the movie theater. Hey, Andy.
What up?
We're talking about the movie War Dogs, Andy. Have you seen it?
No.
Oh.
They're gun runners.
Is it about real estate?
No, there's these 20-year-old kids that are just running a ton of guns during the Afghanistan war, and they're getting government contracts. And one of the big set pieces was Albania, Tirana, and then a little southern, and that's where I'm going tomorrow. So it was just kind of like a weird thing. We're watching a movie last night, and they're talking just about that kind of area, and it was good. It's a good movie. I recommend it.
So you're saying you can wander into trouble pretty fast where you're going?
Yes.
Yeah, I've heard lots of great things about Albania.
Grab Chris a real estate book when you're there. I'm sure he's interested.
Yeah.
He wants to diversify his portfolio. So
yeah, I think Nick is trying to turn into an international realtor. He's trying to get me to buy a house at every port. So
it'd be easier for him.
I guess the dollar is good over there right now, but boy, sounds like there's some energy issues over there. Electricity might be a little expensive. They have a little problem getting some gas. Well, Andy,
I don't think they try as hard as we do to make the consumer comfortable.
Do you see this? Right there?
The mustache or the red mark?
Oh, there's like a little red mark.
Yeah.
Last night, so first of all, I put corn on the cob, in a cooler with ice on it, right? But I left it for like 2.5 days. And I'm like, oh no, man, I totally ruined it. So anyways, I grilled it. So I ripped it off and started eating it, and I couldn't stop. It was unbelievable, so good. But it burned my lip. It burned my lip. Yeah. So that's I did go to the state fair, so I was trying to rekindle it, and my corn was just as good. I'm just
that's a great way to do it. Yeah.
It's unreal. Unreal. So all right. I suppose we got to talk about the market, real estate market. What do you think?
Well, there's, the stats coming in. There's, mortgage rates are creeping around and bouncing around a little bit, which I think we have an expert coming on here today to talk to us a little bit about that. We have, consumer confidence, I think, is where I'm seeing the slip, is that we have to have that confidence to keep things rolling, because people that have to move. People that want to move are holding off. So the hold off part of the market might be what feels like a slowdown when it's really not. Like I said, everybody that got all those big raises over the last 2 years still has those big raises. They're all still gainfully employed, or most of them are, unless you're in the mortgage industry. Most people are still doing fine. And so they have the money. Rates jumped up a little bit, but I mean, in theory, if you're acquiring financing anyway, 3% to 5% is one thing, but 3% to 7% is kind of the swing we're seeing right now. So that's where even even the positive, try to stay on the right side of the sun guy, even go, huh?
Yeah. It's basically, it's a total readjust. You have to just kind of forget about what it was and where we're moving to and what it is. But I think even trying to figure out what the market is right now is really very interesting. We have stuff that just goes, and it goes really fast. Right. And we have other stuff that's sitting, and we're not even really getting any showings. And it's like, what? How is this happening? I mean, and there are some really nice properties. And so it just kind of, it's just kind of playing in a little thing. And people are starting to get crazy and get scared. And when you get scared and everything starts dropping, that's going to kind of hurt the other ones. And we've got
and Chris, do you I think that I cautiously agree with you, but I also say, when we say dropping, again, I'm just seeing where the market was on a diving board and going boing. Every time we'd list something, it'd go way up in the air and way up in price. And it was like they just took the diving board away. So now people are running and jumping in the pool, if you will. They don't have that extra like spring or the extra, bounce to it. That was quick in the show. Thank you. It just doesn't have that. Like, they took her diving board away. So it's like people are still jumping in the pool. They're just not getting that extra ba-boom,
Yeah. It's interesting. I think it'll continue to be interesting. And you know what? I mean, once you play around Labor Day, and if historically we're looking at this, we should start ramping up again, and showing should start going kind of around the 15th of the month. And then they usually remain somewhat good. During the fall, people are starting to kind of get off of their summer vacations, and they're thinking about, geez, should we grab it? Let's get in next year or before next year. I've got 4 lake opportunities coming this fall. And I've always had so much good luck with Lakeshore in the fall, because it's like people have maybe just didn't quite do it again all summer long. And now they're like, geez, we're going to get in there before next year yet. So let's grab it. We can do some remodeling or do whatever we want, but we'll be ready for the lake season next year.
Well, and like you and I were talking about this years ago, you've always said this, that even the lake lots this time of the year sell better because there's people planning ahead for next spring. It gives them the opportunity to buy now, dig, do a winter build, be ready for the spring or the midsummer next year. With the way construction is now, maybe it's end of summer next year, but still the idea there is that things do move in the fall. Don't hesitate. I mean, if you're thinking about selling that property, you don't need to wait until the spring. It doesn't have to be, don't get me wrong. It is nice when, you're standing on the dock and the nice pontoon goes by and everybody waves at you and says, hope you buy it. That fairy tale kind of stuff. But on the other hand, there are lots of people that can visualize They know the lake. They know exactly what they're getting into because you're in whatever bay or on whatever point, and they know exactly what the shoreline's like, and they're just ready to move, So
Well, typically your best buyer on the lake is someone already on it. And that's moving to the next realm. I had two of them. That's three actually. I had two of them this year. That's exactly what it was. They were both move up buyers on the lake.
Well, Chris, think about this though too. I mean, there's a lot of vulnerability, right, in other market segments right now. Mm-hmm. And so one thing that has been consistently solid or stable is Lakeshore. So you will see a lot of investors and people saying, hey, you know what? Let's take some of our money that's not really doing much for us over here anyway, put it into an asset that we can live in, touch, feel, swim, play with, have the kids stay, whatever in, and make that investment for lifestyle. And then when the market goes back and that thing doubles in price, maybe you sell it or whatever and get back into something more stable. Because it's kind of a funny thing to think about, but you hear a lot of retired people that will talk about things like, well, we had all that easy money we earned this last year, and then it all got taken away. Well, you saw some of them out buying new RVs. You saw some of them out doing whatever. A lot of people say that was stimulated from all the stimulus that people didn't know what to do with their money, so they invested it. And so it overstimulated the market, showing investment being done. And, so just if you really look back at all the artificial crap that's been done, a lot of it's been artificial for the last 2 years anyway. Yeah. It's not like it's organic or natural. So we're just getting kind of the side effects of running out of cough medicine. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I did want to say one thing. I think Dick's going to bring us to a commercial, but I wanted to say one thing, that there is something else that's happening in the market, and it starts this week. I looked at my calendar, and holy moly, it's very full looking because of a little thing called the Parade of Homes, and that starts Saturday 12 to 6. It runs for 4 straight weekends, and Thursdays and Fridays from now on. But starting on Saturday, Andy, are your places ready?
Yes.
Good. Yeah.
We're down to 2. I normally do about 5 parade homes during the spring and the fall, but we're actually between models. Inventory is still selling, and houses that are up and ready. I mean, when people are coming in and offering these builders over asking price to get the model homes because they want a place to move now, that's what we had going on. And so a lot of these houses are already sold, and we're moving from one model to the next model. And it's actually kind of the builders feel it too. They don't want to sit there and have 50 inventory homes. So they're turning their inventory, selling their models a lot of times. And I think it's going to be a great time if you're looking for new. This fall, the inventory is going to be great. There's not a lot of pressure. There's going to be lots of incentives out there again, which is kind of fun. Everybody likes to buy stuff on sale. So I think it'll be a fun time to buy in the fall. You can always refinance next year. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's true.
Perfect. All right, guys. Hey, we're going to move into the main segment of the show. We've been talking about rates for a while now, but we haven't had a professional on to really kind of school us on what is going on. So we're going to bring in Randy Cullen from Fairway Independent Mortgage. And this segment is going to be brought to you by Chris Rooney Home Experts.
I was just 1 year old when my family started in real estate, where both my parents were agents. They also dabbled in investing in real estate, rentals, flips, and construction. After college, I went right into getting my license in July of 1990. As a 23-year-old agent in an industry that looks nothing like today, I had to know more for my clients to choose me. There wasn't Zillow or social media to tell them how good I was. I had to win them over with knowledge. With knowledge comes confidence, and with confidence comes results.
Whoa, look at that good-looking guy.
Oh, thanks.
Hey, remember we're live, so you can't talk like normal shop.
I'll be really good. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no, I joke around with Randy. Randy's one of the I consider to be one of the top lending partners that I've had over the last several years, and consistent, good quality products. Just has a lot of neat stuff that a lot of lenders don't offer. But the one thing that I think is most unique about Randy is his experience level. And that's why we asked him on today, is because he's amazing at figuring things out. And we just thought, hey, let's bring this guy in today and talk a little bit about mortgages and help us figure it out. What's really going on, Randy? As he giggles.
Yeah. Interesting times. So did you have some specific questions that you wanted to key in on, Andy?
Well, what's triggering these rates recently? I mean, they just spiked up again. What is happening out there that's making that happen? Maybe can the consumer time it where when rates, come back down, or if they are going to come back down, or do you think they're going up? Kind of just guide us a little bit through what you're seeing and what we should prepare for.
Sure. So I think the most recent uptick in rates, I know you and I had a conversation about that. We probably saw about a 0.5 point increase in rate just from the tail end of last week to when the market opened on Tuesday. And the sell-off was pretty significant. You couldn't lock into it. You had to wait until the market opened and pricing came out. So I think the biggest thing that caused that was the Federal Reserve came out after their meeting in Jackson Hole, and the people that were looking at what should have happened didn't get the results or answers that they wanted. So they thought that oil prices were coming down, gas prices were easing a bit. They thought inflation was moderating just a little bit. They were anticipating that the Fed would come out and say, we're not going to hit a 75 basis point hike next time. We're going to cool it down, maybe 50, maybe 25. I think the markets would have liked that. But what the Fed came out and said was, totally that they're going to stay on track. They're going to keep hitting the rate hikes, and they're probably going to cause a little pressure and pain in the market as we go through time.
That was wonderful.
Yeah. Well, the Fed is in charge of, as monetary policy, and they're supposed to be ahead of inflation. Inflation, their target rate is 2%, and we're currently at 8.5%. So they've got a lot of work to do. The fear is that they're going to try to play catch up, something they should have been doing a long time ago, and then they're going to cause a little bit more harm than they should in the market.
Didn't Jimmy Carter try to play catch up back in the 80s?
Yeah, we've been through a lot of those cycles, haven't we?
Yeah, we jumped up to 18% interest or whatever the heck it was on mortgage rates. It was crazy.
Yeah,
I know my first mortgage in the 80s was 16.5%.
Yeah,
so I lived through that.
Well, I know when I first got into real estate, I mean, it got to 10.5, and I was like, hell yeah, I'm gonna crush it now, because you guys had just gone through in the late 80s, and those teens rates, and to get 10.5, and I remember very succinctly remember when it went to 9.5 with you had to pay a little points to get to it, but with that 9.5, I mean, that was sweet.
But what's interesting though, guys, about that is because you're right. I mean, there were people still buying houses, and that's an interesting point to make. People were still buying houses when rates were at 10, 12, 16, 18%, but the house prices lower. And so we've seen where house prices have gone up, and now but this price, low interest rates, what makes it affordable based on people's incomes, right? And it's like there's always that give and take. And so right now incomes are here, rates were down here, so it made it very affordable to have those houses. With rates going up, now it's like, well, I better think about this. They're not here, but they're still fair, but they're not crazy. And so I think that's the hesitation a lot of people have is that, hey, that house was going to have a $2,000 payment. Now it's $3,300, and I'm going to maybe hold back a little bit. What advice, Randy, can you give for those people that are in this situation I just described? Do you recommend that they still buy? Do you recommend they hold off? What do you recommend?
It's a personal decision, and it's always a budget decision. So if I've got anybody that's concerned about a house payment at a certain level, I have them go back to the kitchen table, pull out their bank statements, take a look at their earning records, and figure out what they can afford in their budget to keep their lifestyle at the point that they're at. Because if they're used to saving X number of dollars a month, if they're used to, vacationing once in a while, if they've got, kids to go to college, all of those types of things all impacts the family budget. With new construction, it's a little bit easier because if they're buying new construction, they've got lot tax initially for the first couple of years. It's going to soften that blow in that payment. And, people are going to get raises over time. They're going to save additional money, maybe pay off some other debt, and they'll be able to absorb that payment easier. The other thing that we offer too is a 2-1 buy down. So we can actually have, and we do have a special with one of our builder accounts where they're actually using inventory models with a 2-1 buy down. The builder is paying the 2 points to get to the buy down. So if rates are at 5.5%, let's say today, they're probably around 6. but let's just use 5.5 as an example. The first year they'd buy the rate down 2 points, so they'd be at 3.5% for the first year. It's a great savings in their budget. And then they've got lot tax, so they're not paying full real estate taxes. The second year, then it bumps up a point to 4.5%. They're still saving money. And then the following year, the remainder of the term, it goes to 5.5%. So there are some ways that you can, kind of ease into that payment. And also, we're hoping that over the next couple of years, as inflation, kind of moderates and goes away a bit, that we'll see some relief in interest rates. But I don't think it's going to happen immediately. I think we're going to be kind of sliding down maybe just a little bit through the rest of the year, maybe into next year. If we're in recession or not in recession, we might see some adjustments sooner in interest rates as the Fed backpedals what they've done. But those are just some of the points that I bring up.
And what hits the real estate market is inventory. The more inventory people have, the better. But I think that's one thing that's going to remain light, because there's a lot of people that aren't going to sell. I mean, there's a lot of people with 2.5% to 3% interest rates that are going to go up to 7%, and they're not going to do it. And so they're just not going to sell. So the people that are buying and selling have to buy and sell, and they just have to get used to, hey, this is what it is now. And Andy, we both said it. You marry a house, not an interest rate, because you can always
date the rate, marry the house. Yep.
And there is so many opportunities with different types of mortgage programs that you can do. I mean, adjustable rates. You talked about a 2-1 buy down. I don't know if adjustable rates have become better yet, but I know it wasn't like, don't even do them, because a fixed rate is a lot better. But how are adjustable rates doing, Randy?
So we're a non-bank lender. We sell all of our product to Fannie, Freddie, and Ginnie, unless it's a jumbo product. The secondary market is not favorable to adjustable rate mortgages at this point in time today, just with everything that's going on. And you're going to see that there's been squeezes in premiums and all kinds of things, which is all technically behind the scenes for the mortgage company and how everybody's paid. But the consensus is that rates are at a high point now, but people will be seeing lower rates in the future, and they're going to refinance. So there just isn't any position where, unless you're a large bank and you portfolio product, you're not going to see ARM products that are competitive or even should be considered at this point. The fixed rate product is better.
Right. Yeah.
Randy, real quick, you see people on the when they say like, oh, the Fed's getting together this week and they're discussing the key interest rates or whatever, and they're going to go up, and then I think everybody obviously thinks that will affect house payments. And mortgage rates are obviously they're tied to, but they're not directly correlated with those interest rates. They talk about the Fed raising. Can you talk just a little bit, give a layman's version of the difference between the two, and then what should we really be watching as a consumer when we're looking to refinance or get that better rate? Sure.
So keep in mind, we're looking at the stock market, the bond market all the time. Simply the stock market is looking for corporate profits. That's what they thrive on. The bond market hates inflation. So when you're taking a look at the Fed doing interest rate adjustments for the federal funds rate, that will immediately affect a home equity line of credit or a second mortgage product. It will affect interest rates on car loans, overnight lending between banks, those types of things. It's not a direct relationship to the mortgage market, although the mortgage market is affected by what the overall markets do. So it's just one of those things where you've got to rely upon somebody. I'm watching markets and doing stuff all the time. Consumers are always calling in because they don't know when to lock. So we're always trying to kind of manage through that and keep them updated as often as we can about what the market's doing.
Are there any trusted sources? Sorry to interrupt you. Are there any trusted sources that you like to send consumers to kind of monitor themselves, or do you always recommend they call? Because I think a lot of people aren't quite mentally ready to always call, but they want to just kind of keep their eye on it. Is there any kind of a notification, text or I don't know, some kind of a ticker?
No, we get notifications as mortgage professionals, but other than, watching business channels and just keeping your ear to, the news and things, if you're listening to the right stations, you get the information that you need. And then I do reach out, people do call. And a lot of times people are looking at posted interest rates on the internet too. And keep in mind that all that glitters isn't gold there, because in the fine print, there's always buried, well, you can have this rate, but it's going to cost you 1.5 points, or, you've got to have 30% down and an 800 credit score. So you always got to look at the fine print as well. But people are watching, because we are in a society that we're on a device or in front of a computer screen all the time. So people are getting information, and then they, if they want to know what the reality is, then we talk.
Good point.
Did you want to look in your crystal ball and tell us what you're seeing for the rest of the year?
So what I read yesterday from one of the mortgage folks that we keep track of is that he feels that we'll see a little bit of an ease through the end of the year and then into next year, but nothing significant, I don't think. I think we'll be lucky to be maybe in the 5s, but I can't project. I don't know.
Yeah. And I think that's what some people are doing, is that now it's kind of turns into okay, should we wait?
Mm-hmm.
Let's just hang on for a little bit. And that's what they did at the start of the whole pandemic thing. Everyone's like, oh, this is just not going to last. And by the time it did, they were paying 30, 40, 50,000 more for their house when they jumped in, but the rates also came down more at that time as well. So I don't know. It's one of those things that I think we're going to be in a situation that it's going to purge our industry somewhat. There's not going to be enough to go around for everyone, but there's not going to be a lot of stuff on the market. There's not going to be a ton of buyers in the market, but I think it's going to continue to kind of maybe keep steady. Some people maybe kind of give it away. Other good houses are going, and they're going fast still. We just had multiple offers on one the other day. So it's not like it's, oh boy, everything stopped and it's dead. It's not that way at all. But there is some areas that it's just like, what the heck is going on? Why isn't anything selling? I think the parade of homes is going to be an interesting gauge.
I agree 1,000% that'll be a real indicator locally as to what temperature are we seeing, because we've got some great employers here in the Twin Cities market, and they're you know them all. I don't have to name them, and so they're very diverse in different industries, and I think that every one of those is still very stable. So with that being the case, the only thing that's lacking is that consumer confidence, and I guess I keep looking for a magic pill to bring that back, other than people feel good. But I tell you, it'll be an interesting fall. Hopefully there's those that are confident enough. And if you've got your 20% down and you have a good job and you need to move, I think that I keep telling my sales reps and real estate agents that are on the team here, you need to focus on the people that need to move right now versus the people that want to move, because the people that want to move are hesitating. It's the people that need to move, downsize, right size, and that's where I've told my agents to focus their attention, because it sure seems to be a lot of the only sales that are out there in that category.
Yeah, and keep in mind, people don't have to have 20% down. Mortgage insurance rates are very appealing. They've gone to an automated system now where all of those things are calculated, and I am just astounded at how low some of those factors are. And also, with the increase that we had in property values, we're going to be taking a look at the conforming interest or the conforming loan limit going up. And I've heard numbers of about $715,000.
Wow.
So I think we're going to be hearing a lot about that coming up in the next week or two. And we'll be able to, bring that to the table as well, because we'll be able to actually provide those loan limits even before they go into effect. We just warehouse the loans until we can sell them.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you know? So that it's coming, and so you can kind of jump in beforehand and start putting those loans into play.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, that's kind of nice.
Yeah,
so
and then of course with
Fairway.
FHA, they won't make a change until the 1st of January. Just under charter, they can't make any changes sooner than that. But we should see an increase in FHA limits as well.
So Fairway, obviously, is Fairway throughout the United States?
We are, yeah. There's probably about 10,000 employees nationwide. We have corporate offices in Madison, Wisconsin, and a suburb of Dallas, Texas. Okay. Our CEO, the company is employee owned now. He didn't want it sold, and he didn't want it to go public. So we're all owners, which is a nice thing. And yeah, it's just been a great place. So when I started my mortgage career, I was with a company called Waterfield Financial, and that's where, you know, a lot of the folks that I work with today came from Waterfield. So it was interesting when we joined Waterfield in 2007, or joined Fairway in 2007, that so many of the people that were there we knew from Waterfield days. So it was really kind of cool.
Hold on, man. 2007. It's 2022. 15 years with the same place.
Yep, and I've been in the mortgage business 29. So I've only changed the name on the door 3 times. And so Waterfield actually prepped itself to be sold, so they eliminated branches. Waterfield sold itself to American Home, and you know what happened with American Home.
Yeah.
And once that transition was done, we went to Summit Mortgage for 10 years, Bob and Diana Carter. And then we found Fairway Independent Mortgage in 2007, signed up right away, and have never looked back.
Yeah, for those who don't know, that's not very much for a lender. I mean, with that industry, it's a constant recruiting thing, and people switching and flipping and flopping and going to different places. And sometimes, hey, it's to find kind of the best thing. Sometimes there's other reasons for it, but consistency is good. That's nice.
Yeah.
Well, who's kidding who? I think a lot of loan officers, you know, have to look at, you know, can they get their clients the products they need, and can they make a living as their, you know, those things. And so what you're saying is Fairway's a pretty decent company. And I can attest that Randy's a very professional, responsive mortgage guy. I've been using Randy for years, and highly refer him as much as I can. So if anybody else wants to, we've been kind of splashing his email and his phone number across the bottom of the screen. You know, Randy, is there any other way you want people, or any other message you want to give to the viewers and listeners out there?
So I think it's, you know, everything's cyclical. So whatever experiences we're having today, it's going to be different next year. You just can't not be in the market. You can't not be in a home. People need to, you can't, if you're paying rent, you're paying somebody else's mortgage. Regardless of what the interest rate is, you need to have your own place and build your own equity.
I like it. All right, guys. Well, Randy, thank you so much for coming in and kind of answering those questions and kind of helping us feel a little better about what's going on. And appreciate you doing that today.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
All right.
All righty. So
Beautiful.
What's next, big boy?
Thanks a lot, Randy. We're going to get into our little social media reacts, and I got a couple funny memes. It's going to be brought to you by Andy Prasky, Preferred Home Team. Andy, do you want to do your own ad?
Oh, I was just going to watch myself again. I don't, yeah. Hey, you know, today's crazy market, when you're thinking about selling your own place, you want some help, you want some guidance, and hey, where are we going before we sell? Can we structure something that's still safe so I don't have 2 payments, but yet find a place that we know where we're going, make a plan, knock it out of the park? I'm kind of good at that. So give me a call, Andy Prasky. If you want to sell your house, buy a place, do a combo. I've been very happy with what I've been doing for people the last 22 years, and I hope they are too. Of course they are, right?
Yeah. Well, I think you should have let me in on your commercial as well.
Yes, and I'd like to have Chris Rooney testify for me, please.
Well, I'll tell you what, selling a house is not an easy thing. You got to get with someone that you like, that you enjoy, that you can trust, that has some experience and knows what the heck they're doing. And you will have no shortage of fun with Mr. Prasky because he has a really good staff. No, but
That's right.
Mr. I couldn't be super nice the whole time, but you, I know you take care of your people. See, there's the staff right there. Oh, I should say boss right there.
As they cut her out.
That's the boss. Yeah, that's the boss. Boy, Lisa, you look good this morning. She cleans up well.
We have high standards in this office, Chris.
I see that. You remember when my wife comes in? I mean, she's like coming out of bed or something. It's like, remember we saw her in.
She looks great though.
Yeah.
So, that was funny. Yeah, she was. They were in Spain or something, weren't they?
Yeah, Majorca Islands and
Yeah,
Tenerife or something.
crazy.
But yeah, but I was going to say that it is super important to enjoy it, because it's not like you're with this person for just a little time. And in reality, and how I know Andy does his business and I do too, is that it's a long-term type relationship, that
For sure.
it doesn't just stop at a closing. You got to be able to take care of the people afterwards. And he has really good movies with popcorn and lots of prizes too every year.
Yeah, that's coming up here, isn't it? I keep forgetting about that. It's in December.
Was a long commercial.
That's a kind that I should get, though.
Yeah, there you go. All right.
Hey, B, what's happening, pal?
I don't know if
seeing
it's a good day. Beetle looks a little.
Isn't that the truth?
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. You kind of like, I mean, how about battles between clients and just with Randy just on, not to say him, but sometimes with loan officers. I mean, they've been just, give me this, give me that, give me that. All of it happens at the last second. Renegotiating, doing final walkthroughs, and then all of a sudden everyone's supposed to come together and all be happy. That's why I am so happy about
I literally
closings.
had this yesterday. Client moving out of state, situation, and everything's in motion. They sign everything, the money's funded, and there's one last piece of paper to sign, and they decide to argue with the title company over how taxes are paid and how to prorate taxes, and that they were pretty sure they prepaid all their taxes for the year versus paying in arrears like everybody else in the world does, because they won't allow you to prepay them. Yeah. And so and then they get so upset and so mad, and it's like it's an honest mistake. So what I would say is that, Chris, this last it's too close to home for a lot of us, because people send these nasty texts and these emails, and they let their emotions control their keyboard, and you got to learn to not do that, especially as a real estate professional. You just got to calm down. And sometimes I intentionally will take a couple hours and not even respond to it, let them calm down, and then respond with a professional answer, because you're right. These people, sometimes they argue with you over the silliest things, but it's not silly to them. And that's the part that we have to kind of keep in mind, is that something like that couch that's still sitting out in the garage that they're losing their cookies over, and all of a sudden you're like, you know what, I'm going to throw it in the back of my pickup truck for you, calm the problem down. And but it is crazy. Do you see that at all? I mean, you deal with a lot. I don't know.
I think people need
Not
to
every
remember
file, but some files.
I mean, from a real estate lender title perspective as well, you got to remember that we're supposed to be professional, and professional is not using your emotions and going crazy. So just chill out, cooler heads prevail, face some adversity. And I don't think some people face adversity, or, I look at people, and that's how I judge them. I mean, when things are great, I mean, anyone can be great. But when things kind of hit the fan, who's the ones that are going to kind of sit down, let's figure this out and do the right thing. Because a lot of times money dictates what they think is the right thing, and that's not what the right thing is. So.
Well, and remember this too, just because you're a consumer doesn't mean you're right.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, when you hire, just like going to and arguing with your doctor, with your WebMD list, saying that, this is what's wrong with me. And that's, well, if you know what's going on, then why didn't you do it yourself? Yeah. You don't know what's going on. And that's not the case. That, there's a lot of situations where you have to recognize, as you enter into the situation you're in, is this something I could have handled? Or is this something where I really should take a breath, look at it, analyze it? And because there's people always want to accuse mistakes, or this is, and I shouldn't say that, not always, but there are situations where that happens and people blow it out of proportion. And in reality, Chris, you and I do this every day, where our title people do this every day. They know exactly what they need to do to make these files close properly. And 99.9% of the time, there's not mistakes being made. And if there is, make sure you have the insurance. And, so if you don't know your title company, or you don't have a history, your agent doesn't have a history with that agent title company, then you may want to really look at it. But anyway, I just say, there's a lot of great professionals in our industry right now, and there's no need to, act crazy and be unprofessional.
Hey, this next one I thought was a very interesting way of marketing, especially in your local neighborhood. So view it in that perspective.
I like this one.
As soon as I walk into a restaurant, I take a picture, I put it on wide angle, take a picture, I sit down. And then whenever everyone gets their meal now, I'm like, okay, let me take a picture of your meal and your meal. And everyone's like going, all right, weirdo. I'm just going on. And what I do is I go on there, I review the restaurant, leave a review, and then you post your pictures on there. I just started that in January, or you saw that Fuzzy's picture was from December. I've gotten a combination of over 2 million views. So within 8 months, 7 months.
It's not. I don't have a problem with that at all. I think local businesses would like that as well. I think a lot of people don't like pictures of food plastered all over the normal social media. But if you're using it as reviews or doing it on Yelp or whatever, kind of all together, I think that's.
You know what's crazy is when I do actually, I'm probably one of the biggest users in my family of Yelp, and we will go to a restaurant. And you're in the middle of nowhere, and you're like, for an example, up by the cabin, there was somebody saying, oh, this old mill has the best ribs, and you got to go up there and try it. And I'm like, well, before I went there, I literally go on Yelp and I look on there, and here there's 60 pictures of people. And I appreciate when they put on there that, hey, here's the ribs, or here's the salad bar, here's the whatever. And I do I'm a very visual person. So for me, that is helpful in making my decision as to what I would order or whatever. So, you think about that. And if you apply this to, like Nick was saying, apply this to housing, for an example, and having kind of a flair for the neighborhood, or using street views or whatever, just to even get kind of a feel for a neighborhood when you have a listing. That's why I like aerials, to show the house in the middle, but show 6 or 7 houses on each side. And, granted, there's privacy issues there. You don't want to make sure anybody's standing in their yard, or, God forbid, sunbathing or something in the backyard when you're shooting those aerial shots. But, for the most part, you want to get a feel for the neighborhood. Is it close to the lake? Is it close to a park? That's why a lot of my listings, I will intentionally have the guys fly up. And then I want, if there's a park, I go show the house, show the park, show the house, show the river, show the house, show the lake. And so people can kind of get a vibe for the neighborhood, because it really does help sell that.
Hey, I was going to say, like that guy who just did that, would it be weird if I just took pictures of buffalo wings all day, every day?
For you, no. It would. Your followers would be like, "This makes sense." All of our contracts have buffalo sauce on them.
Look at the wild wings today; they're amazing.
Hey,
Randy's a little grainy this time.
This guy is a real estate agent, and he was doing this like in his local area. So his name pops up everywhere first on Google reviews, and it says, whoever's name is realtor. So not just like a random guy and doing food.
Right.
No, there's a company out there called Local Expert, and they do they want you to become like celebrity agent, I think it's called, and they want you to become the local expert, and that's exactly what they tell you to do. Relate to people on a level that they can relate to. Shopping, consume, services, foods, and do that, and interview and partner with a lot of those, because they will. From an agent's perspective, it's a great way to do it. They will share it. Like he said, he's getting 2 million views on it, and that's right. It has nothing to do with real estate, but you learn to know the person. You get to know that person by watching their videos, and then when you think of real estate, hopefully you do think of that person. Time will tell if that is the case.
I think too, on this whole social media thing, do what you do what you are, be who you are, rather than trying to be like everyone else. Because you can tell when the newest, greatest how to do it comes out, because everyone kind of does it. It's just like, oh geez, here we go. It's not very authentic. So, be yourself. And if that's what that guy is, I mean, that's great. Do the food thing and he gets it, and whatever.
But you still have to have a watchable and a likable person doing it, though, because, and I say this, there are tons of complete idiots in our industry that are out there making videos right now. I've studied. I look at, the TikToks. I look at all these different platforms, Instagram, whatever, and the video reels and whatever. Okay, I get it. Yep, you're a real estate agent, but if you're not entertaining and you're not actually, like I say, easy on the eyes or whatever the draw is to you, they're not going to consume your content anyway. So just putting content out there for the sake of putting content out there, I don't see the value.
I know what I'm going to do, Andy. I'm going to do the most unhealthiest gluten-free restaurant meals out there, because that's what I order most of the time.
We've got the Wiener Schnitzels and with gravy.
Can you come
Sausage
with me?
gravy on Wiener Schnitzel.
We've always talked about doing some marketing together. You could come with me.
I would, you know me, I'd be right. I'd grab your fork and start diving in.
You could be like the Dave Portnoy of Buffalo Wings. Chris.
Yeah, there you go. Hey, I'll give you one scoop. It's a 5. It's a 5.
I only eat 12 wings, not one bite. It's not one bite. It's 12 wings. You got to have 12. And then you know they're real. You know?
Ooh, the last one was sour.
Totally.
That's funny. Hopefully somebody else will think it's funny.
Yeah, exactly. I'm so glad this is internet and it's not radio. Nick, the producer, Nick on the radio would have been really dangerous.
Nick would have us with the FCC every week.
Yeah, I think there's something about that last photo that was, I've seen that before. That's very interesting.
Yeah.
And how that works. So, yeah. Next. Okay, Fizbo, iBuyers, random agent. Seller I'm friends with, me. So, okay, Fizbo, iBuyers, random
So
agent.
basically, your client that you think would be hiring you no matter what is looking at everybody.
Yeah.
And not giving you the attention you probably deserve. And you're the loyal, hardworking, dedicated, you know?
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah. And I was just talking about that yesterday with a friend of mine, and it's kind of like, you know what? If you don't use me, that's fine. There's no problem with that. I think in the younger days, you were like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that. And then we'll never talk again. And I just don't feel that way. I mean, if that's the reason that someone's doing it, just because that's what they want to do, then you should do it. I don't hold any grudges against them whatsoever. So use who you want.
Chris, you're an exceptional person because a lot of people can't do that.
Yeah.
And they get very competitive and they ruin relationships over it. Yeah. And I've said that to my family and friends too. I said, trust me, I know I'm in real estate. I do. And if you choose not to call me for whatever reason you choose not to call me for, I'm okay with that. Because the thing is this, I'd rather have a relationship with somebody than to have a deal. But on the other hand, I also do make my living doing this. So maybe you could refer me to a couple of your friends and family, and that would make up for your sins.
Totally. And by the way, Christmas is in San Diego this year. We'll see you there. And then don't show up.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
Come on. No, I think that the best compliment is a referral anyway. And so I do get it if somebody doesn't want to necessarily work. It'd be like, the doctor that's your brother-in-law, and you don't necessarily want to go get that exam done when he's your brother-in-law. You know what I mean? So it's like, I get it.
Yeah. No, it is what it is.
3, 2, 1, bang.
That's a nice $23,000 window.
Okay, here's the thing. Here's what I believe that will happen with our parade of homes this year, is that people will be coming in trying to find those things so they can remodel their 2.5% interest rate homes to try to make it cool. And then they'll do it, but it won't quite be there what they want. And then they'll start buying. There's my prediction.
And every builder rep will tell you, you don't want that window in Minnesota. It's going to get full of ice and the track won't hold it. It won't seal as well. Those are southern windows, Yeah.
Those windows aren't bad. I mean, those things seal really well. I was actually
cool.
going to do it on one of my houses, but hey, that's the other thing too. When you're remodeling and you forget about something, or you're like, oh my gosh, because what happens in remodeling is that once you see something start kind of evolving, you change your mind. I mean, the house I'm doing right now, I've changed it 4 times. I mean, literally had the plans flipped and flopped 4 times while we're doing it. And one of the things is windows. That window's not going to work there. We got to get this window. Well, I've got six areas that are going to get plywooded over, insulated, sheetrocked over, because my windows aren't the ones that I forgot aren't going to come for 3.5 more months. And so, but I have to get the house kind of finished. So that's what we got to do. I mean, it's crazy. So we're going to remodel after the remodel happens.
There you go.
That whole remodeling too, it costs you money.
If you even looked at like things like, obviously I'm sure you have, like patio doors, for example. And a friend of ours had 2 patio doors done on their house. Take the old one out, put the new one in, and granted, they were the local big brand, which is great. But can you imagine paying $23,000 for 2 sliding patio doors? Chris.
By the way, I've got 2 that were on my house that were taken out. I'll sell them to you for a lot less than that. Only
well,
5
I mean,
years
that's
old.
that's what the contractor charged to come in and take them out, put the new ones in with the big local brand, and it was, I mean, my gosh, I mean, they're very nice, but
and 4 months to get them.
Oh, sure, yeah, of course. You got to wait till next year. You order now for next year,
right? Exactly.
Aren't we catching up on any of that stuff yet? I'm seeing new construction. We are, but I mean, big windows and doors.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Still not.
Nope.
And what's their excuse? They can't get workers or what?
The window fan. I know it's the window. It's the extrusions on the windows. Glass and everything is fine. It's already there, but it's all the extrusion parts that kind of hold it together.
Well, maybe we should send over the old resumes from some of these mortgage people that aren't busy refining everybody anymore.
There you
Get
go.
them building windows. See, we're solution people, Chris.
Hey, last weekend I spent 2 days doing manual labor over at my house, and it felt pretty dang good, I have to say.
You didn't just sit there with a whistle like normal? No. Hey, you! Hey, you!
It was amazing.
Hey, guys, to finish off our little social media meme stuff, this made its rounds a lot last week, especially related to politics and whatnot. It's a 2-part meme here, so wait. I'll show you the first one. You're ready for the next one. I'll give it to you. But this is like trending everywhere, so hold on.
Yeah, I've heard of that. Bank of America is announcing 0 down payment, 0 closing cost mortgages for Black and Hispanic first-time buyers. What's that remind you of?
They can't do that.
Was there a Dodd and a Frank? Oh, and then Bank of America laying the groundwork for a bailout narrative by targeting minorities with no money down housing loan programs. Idiots arguing about who's destroying the country. Oh, jeez. Yeah, it's interesting.
That was, the feds pandered to that audience years ago. Back with, you had Clinton that was doing that with they wanted to increase homeownership, and they targeted people where they said, hey, they may make cash or they may have a daycare in their house or whatever, where they don't have documented income. So they did the no doc, no verification loans. And that's what got us into that big housing crisis. So, sometimes when we try to do the right thing, we end up doing the wrong thing because it's the people that you targeted to help sometimes don't take advantage of the program because they don't care. And they're like, we're good. And then other people see opportunities or whatever, and they take advantage of it. I mean, Chris, how many people did we see back in the early 2000s that were fogging mirrors and buying houses with no money down?
Yeah.
And big properties.
And what it does, people, is that then people start fighting over them, and then those houses inflate, and then now they're overpaying for them, and all of a sudden the market turns, they can't pay for them, and then we get foreclosures again. So it's just it's a very interesting. It's a zero win conversation. You can't win.
But you know what? My argument back, you have certain in the Fair Housing Act, you have protected classes of people. That race is a protected class. You can't discriminate against because of it. And so I'm wondering, I go, does that have anything to do with, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how they could do that, honestly. Because what does it matter?
Yeah. Hey, Randy's still hanging out with us. Nick,
yes?
throw him on. Let's see what he has to say. Yeah, unless he's working on something. I see him in the background.
What was the question?
There he is. He was there. See, the guy just appears. What a lender.
Yeah.
Well, we just talked about what Bank of America is proposing about.
Show it again. Go ahead, Nick. Show it again.
Yeah, no down payment.
Yeah, no. Totally ridiculous.
Yeah.
Totally ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, I don't even know how you do that. I mean, have you heard of any of that stuff coming?
No,
is that just more of a Bank of America?
Yeah, it's, they might be asked to do some specific lending in specific communities. Maybe that's where it came from. I'm not going to speak to the legality of it, but it just doesn't pass the smell test.
Yeah.
And like you were saying back in, all the more bad mortgages that were done.
Well, you wonder if that's fake news, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just to stir the pot.
Yeah. But back in the day, Countrywide was the one that was actually trying to get all the they wanted to be the mortgage giant, and they came out with the majority of all of those really bad programs. So yeah. Hopefully we'll never see that again.
You mean the ones, Randy, that you could pick your interest rate and pay off whatever you wanted to, and then they just add the extra on top?
Yeah.
You like those?
Well, that was we called those neutron bomb loans. They killed the borrowers but left the house standing.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
And that was the truth.
You think people would learn, but they won't, and then the people that did learn from it will end up making the money from it. I mean, it's a joke. They all think who they're helping, and they're not. They're just helping the people that have all the money anyways. So,
well, that help is there for everybody right now. You don't need to put categories and names on things. Everybody thinks that we all practice fair housing. There's no restrictions right now that couldn't be, to help any person that's out there that wants to find a loan. You just have to have a good job, right? You have to be able to show that you can pay the payments. And that's it. Nobody says, "Oh, you look, whatever. You can't get a loan." Come on.
Yeah, that's a little illegal. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Randy.
Thanks for sneaking in, Randy. Yeah.
Thanks for hanging in there. Yeah.
Hey,
we should. This is like the NFL, right? Where they also they go the guy in LA when there's a question on the penalty. Hey, let's go back to LA and talk about the penalty. He goes, "Yep, you guys are out of bounds. He's clearly 1 foot in, 1 foot out." That's what Randy should be our behind the scenes guy always.
That's a great idea. And then maybe we'll get Cody too. Cody to kind of do some stuff. So, all right. So what do we got? Is it really that difficult to sell a house that has solar panels? I don't know if
I got some context too.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay, let me put it up here.
Oh, it's a solar salesman, and they've been told that real estate agents have a tough time selling houses equipped with solar panels due to tricky contract stipulations. True. Is it really that difficult, or are they just not very good real estate agents? I think that the difference is that it's not normal. And so when it's not normal and you're trying to teach everyone that it is normal, that they should know, they just don't know. People don't know. And so they know how a furnace works and that you have to have a furnace. They don't know how solar works and what you have to pay for it. What, we have to accept that? No, get them off of our house. We don't want that. So yeah, it is harder to sell a house with solar panels.
There's probably some permanent installation points, I'm guessing, on the roof. I may be wrong on that. I would guess there would be. And then I don't know though, Chris. I tell you, the world's changing, and you just saw the feds just push through that huge, green energy thing. And there may be some advantages for solar in there again, where, hey, if you can all of a sudden cut your utility bill in half and have no interest on the cost to put it in. I mean, I don't know, man. I hate to say it, but it's hard to swim upriver sometimes. You know what I mean? Sometimes you just go with the flow, figure it out.
All right. Well, Andy, this weekend we have in the neighborhood Reverence, which is just right by Heritage Links Golf Course, kind of right behind Territory, Credit River Township, off of where the McStop is, 35. Head that way. We have a dream home, and it's the one you got to pay moolah to get into, and it's a real different house. I mean, it's black. I mean, the whole thing is black. It's got a pool.
Wow.
Yeah, it's cool. They did some really neat things with it, and now they're doing what do they call it? What kind of pricing is it now? It's kind of like almost budget or gap pricing, and so based on what this house is, it's anywhere from 2.1 to 2.3 million, depending on what you want. It's got all the geothermal stuff, but they were doing that because people weren't able to price it, because they didn't know what they could replicate it for. And that's the trick. You got to be able to what you replicate it for. And so they gave you this little, range pricing. So it's 2.1 to 2.3. I
hope that works for the consumer. You know what I mean? And not on that specific home, but I mean, Like I know a lot of other builders that'll say, hey, we built this for 600,000 and now it's 750 to replace it. And so I hope they don't put 600 to 750 and then kind of mislead the consumer, because that's the whole idea of the Parade of Homes, is to show an example of what you can do for the amount of money that you put up there. So when you as a consumer out there shopping the Parade, you should ask, how much at the time you built this did this cost to build? Period. With everything you have here, what did it cost at that time? And that's a nice reference point for you as a consumer. Then you can feel comfortable with the fact that, yes, you understand fluctuating lumber prices. We understand fluctuating labor rates, whatever else. And then they can quote the job as we go. But I think the big thing is for a lot of us that are not out there with that kind of a budget, that are looking for a 6, to 750 house, they want to have a landed price. And I'm starting to see where builders now, with lumber coming down, and I think that there's actually, hate to say it, but you're starting to see some of these contractors sitting at home. They don't have as much work on my couple of guys I'm working with are still very busy, but we're starting to get more calls now from framers, excavators, and where they're not as busy. So they're looking for other work, which when competition comes in, guess what happens to pricing, right? Which is a good thing for a consumer. So you may be able to secure some really good deals, because there are builders out there that are very savvy and they're very aware of their costs. And if there's some competition out there saying, hey, I'll dig the basement for 20 and the other guy was digging it for 35, that, can equal up to some big savings heading into the fall here. So everybody wants to keep their crews busy. So it's definitely a good time to shop new.
Yep. Perfect.
Fantastic. Another beautiful show. Make sure to give us a like on the Facebook. You can write us a review on iTunes or Spotify. We're on YouTube now if you want to give us a subscribe. Also, send us any questions or any other people you want us to have on the podcast. And we'll see you next week. Have a great day.
See you guys.
Thanks,
Thanks for joining us this week on the Real Estate Radio Hour. Don't forget to visit our website, realestateradiohour.com, where you can subscribe to the show on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, or your preferred podcast listening app. If you enjoyed today's episode, we'd appreciate a rating on iTunes or sharing us with a friend. Until next time, stay awesome, Twin Cities.